Well, hello, gentlemen. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. So we have another one here that's certain to raise some eyebrows, and we're gonna take a different direction on it today. So the first thing I want to do is stipulate up front, and I think I speak for all of us here, that we all agree that porn is immoral, and so we're not going to be trying to sit here and moralize for everyone about how, you shouldn't be doing that, because we know you shouldn't be doing that. We agree with you.
Well, in addition, porn is destructive.
Yes.
Without a doubt. We're not going to be talking about good porn, bad porn. Well, maybe we will, but porn is bad. We're going to go through the why and, try to address some of women's views on when men use porn.
Yeah. So this will be a little different. This topic actually got started because a watcher on Elena's channel DM'd her asking her some questions on a video that she posted recently. So I think what I would like to do is start with that video, and we can then I can discuss the questions that she asked, and then we have a lot of data to share. I think all of us brought different data sets. So this is the video, and it's pretty quick, so we'll just hit play here.
This is my tea time with ladies.
Can y'all hear that?
I'm drinking green tea. It's supposed to be good for your liver and for your digestive system. Give it a try. I often hear tretcons are complaining that their husbands are watching porn. Ladies, I have a question for you. Why does your husband have time, energy, and desire for porn? Men are usually very transparent, obvious, and direct. All they want is three things. Ladies, three things. Food, sex, and work. And if you won't deliver sexual pleasure to your man, if you won't bring him peace, if you won't cook for your man, he will have to satisfy his needs elsewhere. You must be doing something wrong when your man has time, energy, and desire for porn when he has you. Now think about it.
Okay. So that was Elena's take on the subject, and the three questions that we got asked. I have to pull them out of out of the text history here, out of the DM history. They're actually pretty good questions. The first question is, do you think it's possible for a woman to be doing all these things and a man still just have a desire to watch porn?
Yes.
Absolutely. It is.
Sure. Yeah.
The second question is, or is the problem just that women get offended by porn? Oh, interesting question.
They do.
They do.
Oh.
And this is the question that we're going to be diving in pretty deep on today. And the final question is, or do you think it's unhealthy for a man to be watching porn?
Yes.
I think it's unhealthy. Yes.
Yes. It is, and I think Brett, we can actually
not just spiritually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of, Nick, you sent over some data last night.
Hey, before we get into that data,
go ahead.
In the pre-chat, I added a fourth question.
Okay.
What should a woman do about it?
Oh, yeah, that is a good question.
So we're going to have to touch on that one.
Yes, although we'll probably have to do that in the solutions section.
Oh, right.
So,
okay. Was I supposed to present something?
Go ahead.
You might be able to get away with presenting this. If you want to. This one should be okay. It's the other side of the data that I have that I can't show because it comes straightly from the hub, if you all know what I mean.
Oh, okay. Well, this one's like from I think Covenant Eyes. It's an old program that I used way back in the day when I was a young whippersnapper and doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing. So I'll present.
Yeah, that we can probably show.
There we go. Can y'all see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna blow that up. How do I do that? Oh, boomer moment, guys. Here we go. I'm gonna have to change how I present this. Hold on.
Multiple boomer moments now.
Yep. Hey, is that better? There we go.
Yeah, that is actually.
Okay. So you can see that we have right here brain chemicals in corn, how corn affects your brain. Does corn affect our brains? It does. So it's like make you like crave things like a drug addict. It can basically rewire your brain, basically. And there's a couple things here. Is dopamine. I don't even know how to spell that. Anybody know how to pronounce
Norepinephrine.
that? Yeah, norepinephrine. Then oxytocin, vasopressin, endorphins,
Vasopressin's
serotonin.
a fun one. Some of the and actually, I want to say something here. If you're in a committed relationship, with your wife, some of these hormones are actually really good for you. You've all heard the old saw about how sex can cause a headache to go away. That's vasopressin.
Oh, okay.
So the hormones themselves are not inherently evil.
They're not. Okay. So basically, we're talking about the chemicals here. So what happens when we watch porn? Let's sum this up. I'll just read this. Your brain is an incredible biological computer with billions of neurons processing all sorts of information, shaping your emotions, bunch of chemicals, and it's work together to give you pleasure, pain, and other feelings. Your brain's also designed to adjust and adapt to different environments and stimuli. It references this book, The Porn Circuit, talks about hormones and neurotransmitters involved when viewing porn. It calls it a neuro cocktail. So it talks about dopamine. So when having sex or watching porn, I don't know if should you say that word? I don't know.
We might be far enough in. You can say it now. I forget what the time limit is.
Oh, we're not endorsing it, so
Yeah, no, we are not.
It's released into a region of the brain responsible for emotion and learning, giving the viewer a sense of sharp focus and a sense of craving. So it's like I gotta have it. So it gives you
And dopamine kicks for a lot of different addictions. It isn't just this one.
Oh yeah. So it's like get your fix. Remember where you get your fix. You need to get your fix.
Yes, exactly.
So it creates that fix cycle of pleasure. All right. And then what's that word again?
Norepinephrine.
Okay, norepinephrine. Okay, it's like epinephrine, but norepinephrine. So norepinephrine is also released, creating alertness and focus. So it's like, yeah, so it's the brain's version of adrenaline. Tells the brain, oh, it's about to happen. You need to get ready for it. So it looks like it gives you some sort of kick.
Oh yeah.
And sex and porn also trigger the release of oxytocin and vasopressin. These
So
hormones help lay down. Got something to say?
So oxytocin is also called the bonding drug. Oxytocin is released
Right.
during hugging and by pregnant mothers and recently mothers who've recently given birth.
And
That's what
breastfeeding.
men have.
Yes,
That's what men have after they release and doing the sexual act, correct?
correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it releases that oxytocin, vasopressin, and the oxytocin's that kind of binding thing that
Mm-hmm. And
these hormones.
vasopressin is a vasodilator, which is well that's what causes your headache to go away, among other things.
Oh, yeah. Got stories about that. Okay.
So
They bind up.
when a woman says, I can't tonight, I have a headache, the husband
I
should
just
say,
did.
I have the cure for that.
Because the
tried it. It
husband
didn't
does
work
have the
for
cure
11
for
years.
that.
Tried that for 11 years. Didn't work.
Yeah, it never seems to work in practice, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. Means there's probably a deeper problem there. Uh,
Hmm.
uh-huh. So basically, they bind the person's memories to the object to give him or her sexual pleasure, and then the body releases endorphins, natural opiates that create a high of pleasure throughout the whole body. After sexual release, serotonin levels also change, bringing a sense of calm and relaxation.
Yeah, that
So,
is what those things do. None of those
that's how
none of
they.
those hormones is evil.
Right. That's correct. That says this is that the system works the way it was supposed to work when you're having sex with your spouse. So like, oh, there's like a design there way it's
Mm.
supposed to normally operate. It's kind of interesting. It's almost as if we were designed a certain
No,
way.
no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to use that in the evolutionary world, my friend. You're not allowed to say that.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in that stuff anyway. So together, you can experience a high alertness of sexual pleasure and a deep calm out afterwards. Blah blah blah. And over time, a craving for sex is transformed to a desire for one another, dopamine. Oh, so it rewrites your writes your brain, and so can nature and behavior work together under this design.
Pretty much.
Oh, so there's a
They
proper
can.
behavior that works well with this design.
There is good behavior, yes, that works with this design.
There is
There's
an
bad behavior.
exception. Once you
Okay.
once you finish, or do you want me to go through the exception now?
Sure. Actually, I think
Okay. There's much more to this. You're just talking about brain chemicals. There's more going on. Pheromones are a component of attraction. And so that brings two people together that should come together because they're biologically compatible. When the woman is on birth control when they met, they might not really have been designed to come together. He doesn't smell right. His biology doesn't match hers. And this is really complicated. But assuming that it does, then it's going to bond them together. If it doesn't, and they weren't designed to come together because they kind of subverted that, I'm not sure if this will work. On another
or might
of
not
this,
work to the same degree.
right. Another aspect of this, just sex, natural sex, no condom, no contraception. A man places his seed inside her. For a woman, it takes somewhere up to like 6 months, if I remember right, for her body to get used to his essence. And her immune system has to adjust to that. And also,
Yes.
every man that ejaculates into her leaves a portion of his DNA there that just survives. Just like every child that she gives birth to leaves a portion of of the child's DNA there. And this kind of all gets mixed around. And we've all heard that a woman benefits from the testosterone that's injected into her in the lovemaking act. And it tends to have positive effects on her. Sex is really complicated. We're not just machines banging away at each other for pleasure. It's really complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good discussions on that earlier in some other videos. Maybe we should get back to that again or delve into that deeper, I think. But
Well,
the thing
I
is,
think the point here is that yes, it absolutely has a major effect on you. And that effect can be healthy and it can be unhealthy, and it all is going to depend on how you use it.
okay. So there's pheromones involved. So birth control is
DNA.
probably not a good idea. There's all these other things involved, but what happens with porn though?
Well, we just got done saying that all these hormones rewire your brain.
Right?
Okay. So it's going to rewire parts of your brain to do it.
Mhm.
Now,
Has disturbing side effects. Here we go.
okay.
He talks about 3 measurable effects that researchers have noted. So the brain is tattooed with porn. So it's like it's designed to remember certain things. So it's imprints, basically. You could also say it's imprints on the brain. Your brain gets the signal that something important has happened. So when you see the porn, that happens. Consequently, porn can leave an imprint of the image on the brain long after it's viewed. Yes, that's true. Many people who have quit looking at porn still have minds full of pornographic images. Yeah, that's true. Images that won't leave. Okay. You can still remember those many years afterwards. Why is that?
Hey,
Because of the
can I
chemicals.
point out
You have something to say?
something?
Sure.
I want to point out something else here that'll come up later. It's not only images that are imprinted on your brain, it's themes, it's ideas, it's
Feelings.
actions, it's fantasies, it's things I want to try, things I want to do, how I want to feel. Okay, it's not just images. And we'll come back to that. Right, Plutarch?
Oh yeah. We have lots
That's
more in
right.
store.
Yeah, and then I'll talk about that in a second point when we get to it. But yeah, that's true. And you have these imprints because of it talks about the chemicals of norepinephrine, oxytocin, and vasopressin, which create that form of lasting memories. So it's like he calls it a built-in library of images that you can never erase. So talks about this neuroscientist, Dr. William Struthers, compares this to a neurological tattoo, which is difficult to unremember or to wipe away. Second problem, he says the brain bonds to porn, not a person. So it's a depersonalization. So it's taking this away from its design, a relationship, and it makes it impersonal. It's merely about the act.
And this is true with a lot of addictions. It's not necessarily about binding you to a person or a thing. It's like, let's take, for example, smoking, which is a common addiction, and it's an oral it's an oral fixation addiction, and so it's not really about the smoking per se or the nicotine per se. It's about the act of doing it, and that's a theme you see with addicts. It's not about the thing itself; it's about the act that triggers the release of these chemicals. So you're bonding to the act, not to something else.
Well, it's both. You are right. It is the act. It's also the nicotine. But for many people, the nicotine withdrawals might be the minor thing. It's getting rid of the habit, which is the act. That's the harder thing to do. Other people, it's the opposite.
That's true. There's a lot of variation in this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I still like my bourbon and cigars every once in a while.
And I can hear your Bible study group throwing tomatoes at their screens from here.
Hey. Every once in a while. Sex is designed to bond you to a person. So you end up bonding to this experience, and you have a sexual high. Each time you desire sexual stimulation, you feel a sharp sense of focus. So it's an unnatural high, and it's a super normal stimulus. So one guy explains when men look at porn, they experience surge after surge of dopamine in the brain. Then the brain eventually fatigues, stops the production of dopamine, leaving the viewer wanting more but unable to reach a level of satisfaction. So as Steve was kind of talking about, as a result, everyday pleasures stop causing excitement, and the viewer seeks out more novel and more intense pornography to get the same high as before. So it creates an imbalance in the brain, leading to impotence with one's spouse, frequent masturbation with very little satisfaction, anxiety, fatigue, lack of motivation, inability to concentrate, and escalating tastes for more bizarre or novel porn.
Well, you see this exact progression in drug addicts too. You know, when
Yeah,
it
like the
starts
marijuana is
doesn't
the gateway drug, right?
right. Well, yeah, it starts with something small, and then or you start with a little bit of heroin is enough, and then but you need more, and you need more, and you need more. And eventually you just can't anymore, but you still have to get it. Like because it's worse to not have it at all. The only way to be normal is to load yourself up.
Damn, this sounds like a slippery slope.
It can be, and I hate the whole slippery slope argument, but it's a weak logical argument. It's a weak logical argument. It doesn't mean that it's not true in some cases. It's just it is a weak logical argument. I agree.
But this is what they're kind of referring to when they say it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. Well, because there are slippery slopes out there.
So basically, tastes for more bizarre, and you go more intensity, and then it comes to the third, shrinks your brain, and then you start doing it. It'll get to that crazy stuff. So it talks about this is I don't know how they came up with this, but they say porn shrinks your brain. I don't know if that means different functionality by just saying that, but it just says they're smaller than normal. Talks about the brains of habitual porn users show great similarity to the brains of alcoholics. Now, it specifically talks about, see, I am not a neuroscientist, so I don't know. I have no expertise in this area. So, a brain structure
none
called
of
the
us do.
ventral striatum plays a significant role in the reward system of the brain, the pleasure pathways, and the same part of the brain that lights up when an alcoholic sees a picture of a drink. And it talks about a similar study, a German study found similar results. Then there's another alarm. So there's 3 strands of studies. And Struthers talks about that viewing pornography and masturbating actually weakens the region of our brain known as the, I don't know if I guess that'd be a cingulate cortex, the
Mhm.
region that is responsible for moral and ethical decision making and willpower. This means feeling the compulsive need to look at porn. And here we go. It may lead someone to engage in increasingly risky behavior, such as looking at porn at work, consuming more extreme or even illegal porn, or even acting out sexually in other ways, such as visiting strip clubs or soliciting prostitutes. It's interesting that the more society degenerates, the more they try to legalize things that used to get people in trouble.
Well, we have a large number of people whose brains have been destroyed who need these ever higher levels. So we got to make them more legal because it's either that or you have a riot, right? At least
Or you
that's
could
what
just
this
deal with the
appears.
situation, but
That would require
shutting certain things down.
it would
And the
require
donations would
telling
stop.
people to do
Political
it would
donations
require
would
telling
stop.
people to take effort they don't want to put in. You know, people are they would have to put in work that it's just easier not to. So
It's easier not to do nothing. Doesn't mean
exactly.
it's a good thing to do. Wow, there's a lot in this. But so it says, there's other psychological effects, rush of chemicals, blah, blah, blah. It can destroy you emotionally. Porn may increase anxiety or depression. Porn can change sexual beliefs. That's interesting.
I believe Steve's going to get to that one later.
Porn often intensifies shame. Porn can lead to memory loss. There's withdrawal symptoms. Okay. And then they try to point a way forward. So there's a link if you go to Covenant Eyes and learn more. There you go. I am done with that.
Well, there's a lot in there, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
As Steve was saying, this is a very complex topic.
Yeah. Porn bad.
Man bad, yeah. Well,
porn bad, man bad.
That porn is also a weapon. Sexual liberation is a weapon. And E. Michael Jones wrote a book, Libido Dominandi, and it's subtitled Sexual Liberation and Political Control. And it's a pretty good book going through the history of how sexual liberation is actually used to politically control people. He's got a second edition coming out very soon. And I'm going to get a copy of that. I'll probably buy a copy for Nick and Plutarch, and we might pull some things out of that book for future episodes.
Okay.
So one of the things that I don't know I think it mentioned in passing, but dude, if you're married, if you want to please your wife, doing this stuff is going to lead to what we call a limp dick. So that's pretty shameful.
That would be embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, and a lot of our viewers want to say, hey, I'm a real man. I'm a man's man. I'm a patriarch, or I'm a red-pilled masculine man. Well,
yeah, there's also a problem, Nick. Sometimes a limp dick is a relief. Instead of coming home all horned up and saying, hey, let's get down to business. And she says, no. So instead of that frustration, you come home with a limp dick and say, I'm good.
Oh, it's
You
just like
know,
MGTOW while married, right? You're
Steve,
going
that
MGTOW
actually
while married.
happened to me. That actually happened a couple times in my last marriage with my ex. That actually, it was like, I'm glad I'm not.
Hey, we're trying to educate women on porn here. We got to bring up, what is the reality here? And yeah, maybe this is embarrassing, but not to men, because if they married men, if they're watching this, they're probably laughing.
I hope they are. But I mean, who thinks that? Who wants to come home to a harpy telling you about the long list of chores you got to do when you? Who wants to come home to that?
No one.
And
No one.
right.
Unless they have some weird twisted fantasy, you could be, I wouldn't put it past people
Oh,
these days.
okay, Nick. But why do you think we're pushing chore play right now in culture so hard?
Oh, because cuckoldry, they want an emotional man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the culture minds that much if a guy comes home limp with a limp, shall we say, because that means that he has more time to do the things that milady demands he do, and this should
Mhm.
make the lady happy, right?
Oh, you mean pedestalization, the pedestalization of woman, right? To the
Right.
detriment of man's well-being and sexual health and psychological health and spiritual health.
Absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
so I hope we've answered the third question. We kind of took that one first, but I hope we answered that. The answer is unequivocally yes. It is unhealthy to be watching porn, but it is not just unhealthy for men to be watching porn. It is also unhealthy for women to be engaging in porn, and this is a distinction that I think. I don't know, Nick, or do you or Steve want to take this distinction first, or because I know Nick, you brought up some stuff, and Nick, but uh, why do we go so hard at men for visual pornography when there is so many other types of it out there?
Because men are easy to blame. We live in a culture that blames men and not women. And if there's something wrong in the bedroom, they think it's always the man's fault. And there may be some issues there with the man. But we never look at, the women. We never look at women and their fantasies. We don't think about that. We think, oh, man's got to take a look at a woman. Oh, he's just an objectifying woman. Then, well, like for me, you know, um, porn's bad. I looked at it a long time ago. I quit it. Yet, when I quit it, sex still wasn't there. And yet, it's interesting that the women, they would look, even some women start increasingly looking at it. They also have their books and other things, but, that's not a big deal. Yet it's a big deal when a man wants to look at his wife. Why are you objectifying me? The same one that has all these crazy fantasies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
rode
Hey,
the
I want to
cop
talk about
carousel
that.
before they got married. All right, Steve, your turn. I was just touching all the way
Okay,
around it. Now you can dive in.
this thing that's taught to married men, or men in general, do not look at your wife or a woman as a sex object. Don't you know that she's created by God? She's she's his daughter. She is the subject of your love, not the object of your pleasure. Hey, that sounds really good. Except for
I'll
one
pass.
thing. Young women Hey, have you ever seen the way young women dress when they're going through a nightclub?
Oh
I mean, I
God.
remember one night I was walking downtown Minneapolis and it was 10 below zero, late at night.
Yikes.
I don't remember why I was there, but it was damn cold. And these women, 20 something, and I was probably 45, 50. They're dressed in these silk, clingy, short dresses, and they're walking on the street to the nightclub. I mean, there's nothing left to the imagination. Do they want to be seen as a sexual object?
Oh, did those?
Hell
Yes.
yes.
Or did the client just miraculously
Dude,
show up? The clothes just miraculously showed up on in their closet and showed up on their bodies, right?
Oh, they didn't buy them.
and
They didn't choose them.
and
They
you
didn't
know,
come
the
up-
women who are on OnlyFans or wherever, do they want to be seen as a sexual object? Yes.
Yeah.
So the church does not understand that. Yes, okay, a man needs to love his wife, but he also needs to see her as a sexual object. She has this wiring that he needs to just desire her so much that he can't keep his hands off of her when she wants that. When she doesn't want that, well, no.
Of course.
He shouldn't be looking at me and thinking about me in that way when I don't want it. But when I want it, he absolutely should be thinking about me like he can't stop but just ravage me. So they're kind of wanted to be treated like sexual objects. And if you treat your wife never as a sexual object, that's not good either.
I would say that increases the chances that she's going to go look for ways to feel like she's being treated that way.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated,
Right.
isn't it?
Well,
But she dresses up for girls' night out, right? But not for you.
yeah, but she can get Chad at the bar to look at her that way. Look, you girls, you know that's what you're doing when you dress up for girls' night. You know that's what you're doing. I
And you shouldn't
don't
have one, by the way.
completely agree, but
A hose night
we
out.
need to be honest here with ourselves, people. That you dress up that way for girls' night. You know what you're doing, and ladies, your guy knows what you're doing too. And the reason you stick with him is because you know that you can walk on him and use him, and he won't, throw you away. Well, men, your woman does this. I would say throw her away. Because she's already decided that she's would throw you away for somebody better in her mind. So,
Yep, and your bedroom's probably already dry anyways. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I
So,
would say nip it in the bud early. If it's a recurring thing, absolutely throw it to the curb. But, it's your job to, stop this behavior before it starts. Or she's going to test the water. She might be saying, I'm going to do this. And maybe you make a mistake and say, okay, you can go out with your friends. And probably the first time she doesn't dress really provocatively. But yeah, it's probably going to escalate. So nip it in the bud.
but what don't they? But what if their friends and them try to say, well, she just has a really low libido.
bullshit. Speaking from experience, that's bullshit.
Oh, I'm there, man. I've been there too. I've heard that shit too.
A low libido with you.
Exactly.
Oh,
She
there
had
you
her
go, there you
fun
go.
in her early days, and she might even just be an alpha widow. I don't really want to bring up all the red pill
Yeah.
terminology, but she had her
dangerous
fun.
church goes. And you're the dumb
Potentially.
church schmuck that wifed up the alpha widow and thought you had a trad wife.
Yeah, she's the man you settled down with.
Nick, stop telling my story.
And now she needs to
Hey,
be
it's
prim
fine,
and
too.
proper. And what kind of woman do you think I am? I'm not going to do those kind of things.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, so you're saying that women have a sexual desire too, and that they will seek to satisfy it one way or the other,
Oh yeah.
generally like men do.
So
Like
Well,
men
okay.
do, but differently.
So we've kind of circled around this a little bit, but we're talking about how women will use these other methods of coming up with. Well, it's because it's not visual, and the point that I want to make here with this is that women are primarily driven by emotions, and that plays to their sex life too, which means that when they're seeking something else, they're not looking for a visual experience. They're looking for someone or something that can make them feel in such a way that these same chemicals are kicked in. And so we see in the culture, oh yeah, shame men. They watch all this porn, they objectify all these women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So can we have a candid conversation, ladies, about your romance novels? And
No, we can't.
okay. Well, okay. Before we throw that away, Steve, I want to bring in a couple of videos because I think they demonstrate something about how women. I think it demonstrates that women do actually know what they think that what they're doing is not acceptable. Now, these are both shorts. And some of these might even be staged. I don't, for clout. I don't know, but watch the woman's reactions.
Press my palms against her back, dragging her to my chest. In my wedged against her heart.
What are you reading?
What? What am I reading? You tell me.
Hunter Michael.
What am I reading? What is that?
That's my book. This is what I read on my
That is not a book. That is not a book.
It's a book. It doesn't have a lot to it.
If you read that, you should be in jail.
Hunter,
How can you call that a book?
the music you listen to should put you in jail.
That's all about.
Okay, so did the sound come through on that one? I hope so.
Yeah, it's all about
Yeah.
nasty
Okay.
stuff.
But did you notice her reaction to the book and what he was reading in the book? She comes in, says, that's my book, it's there. But the line that I thought was most interesting is there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there, there's nothing to this or something like that. It's like, yeah, we get it. It's not an intellectually edifying book. I don't think that's the point.
Well, she was angry with him because he was just violating her privacy by drilling into her brain and touching, tapping into her fantasies and her desires. And oh, that's scary. I don't want him to know what's going on in my brain. He might see the real me, not the facade
Bingo.
I put out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he had to bleep stuff out when he posted this because the content of that book is I would say that and I don't know what the title of the book is. So I think it was like If You Stay or something like that. I don't know. But it's a pretty well known. And I would say that book has explicitly pornographic language in it. Not not visuals. It's not like a cartoon book of large boobies, but did you guys also catch the shame she had on her face and how quickly she tried to take it away from him and cover it up?
Yeah. Well, let me point out something else. As visual porn for men has become more explicit in the last and more readily available in the last 20, 30 years. I mean, progressively so. Romance novels have been around for my entire life. I would imagine 40, 50 years ago, they were less explicit. And they've probably become much more explicit now than they were back then. It's a similar progression.
It's
There's a greater
I
market
didn't.
now. I'm surprised
There
she had it
definitely is.
I'm surprised she had it in book form.
You mean like not on a Kindle or something, or on her phone or something?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, but the book form has a tactile component to it that the phone does not.
It is.
So something to think about there.
Yeah.
But Steve, you brought up something interesting that I hadn't thought about before the stream. When you said, "Oh, I think it's gotten worse," I think if we look at Twilight, the movie, the book series, and the movie series, and then I don't know if people know this, but the whole 50 Shades of Grey was actually started as a fan fiction rewrite of Twilight for adults.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that if you look at 50 Shades of Grey, you're going to find a pretty significant turning point in romance novel culture at that point.
Yeah.
So I can't prove it because frankly I do not read books like that, so I do not know. I'm just thinking back to the whole Twilight / 50 Shades of Grey phenomena that exploded.
Well, that brings up another thing that I've heard, that when women are actually increasing their usage of visual porn, and I've heard it said that women actually pursue more violent themes in their porn than men. And they think men are the scary ones. But women, okay, and I'm bringing it up because 50 Shades of Grey has that dominance fantasy.
Indeed.
That's a real thing for a lot of women. They're not just sugar and spice and everything nice.
So I have in front of me in a window here that is quite well secluded from the rest of my computer, the Hub survey for 2023, and you mentioned that female visual usage is up, and it is up quite significantly. In 2015, 24% of visitors to the Hub were female. In 2023, 36%. So it's up 12% in 8 years. That's actually quite a bit. Age. So the vast majority of users in the United States, about half of them are under the age of 34. But man, do not be the Philippines, because if it's under 34 is doing 70%. So, and I'm looking for, because they do have the stats. I can't find them for what women look for. Yeah, we lost Nick for a minute there.
Yeah.
Oh well, okay, there he is. So
there he is.
Women, I'm looking through. Yes, I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking through this stuff, but I'm not going to show it because, frankly, we don't need that on our screens. But yes, women do tend to go for the more violent categories. that is in the data. Again, I'm not going to list them or any of that. We don't need to get into that. So, and this is data from the largest site in the world.
Hey,
Interesting. Go ahead.
I want to say something about that. That what I'm calling dominance, women's desire for dominance and fantasies around that. That's not. It's easy to understand. I don't think there's anything wrong there because they kind of desire a dominant man. But when they're in a romance novel or viewing it, they are wanting to be so desired by the man that he does whatever she wants him to do, but yet she's still in control of what she wants. Does that make any sense? So just, I mean, the man and woman, the man is supposed to be the head, the woman is supposed to be the helper. So there is a hierarchy there. So some of this desire in what she's viewing reflects that hierarchy. And so it's not that she's twisted or wrong for looking at this. It's that it's not expressed in a healthy way in a marriage by trusting her man and, having proper sexual adventures in the bedroom with the man she's married to.
Not the porn, right?
Not the porn and not the fantasy novels. So, yeah, I don't want us to be criticizing women for their desires, and any women who happen to watch this think they're bad for having certain desires.
Preferences. In what?
No, there's certain sinful preferences, but there's a genuine desire for a man to be, masculine and in control. That's a good desire.
Right. And that's, it's hard to describe it, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Right. There's natural desires and there's unnatural desires. So,
yeah.
Like with the,
men.
Look, we don't need to see the donkey show, guys.
No. But women are shorter than men. Women desire a man who's taller, in good shape, because she kind of likes those big muscles and how she can feel small and he can do what he wants. As long as it's what she wants, not what he's forcing on her.
Right. We do have to make that clear. Well, so Steve, earlier on, you brought up a point about the programming aspect of this stuff, and I have data on that too.
Yeah, the question was, does porn reflect? Does the types of porn reflect societal desires, or primarily can the themes on porn be used to program or influence people's desires? Kind of porn be used as propaganda?
Well, if we go back to what Nick was sharing from Covenant Eyes about how porn can be used to rewire the brain, I think the most logical answer is that if I can rewire the brain with porn in general, then I could absolutely use porn to shift the wiring in a different direction that maybe I want it to go down. And this actually shows up in the data too, although when we looked at it, we were actually shocked at where it showed up. So as there is this political thing right now with the Skittles people, and particularly the T's of the Skittles people. And one piece of data that they have here is that women, compared to men, are 175% more likely to view porn of the T variety. Okay. And this was the one that really surprised us. Most people, if I asked you, which generational cohort do you think is watching the most of that T variety, you probably would say Gen Z, maybe millennials. The millennials are some, but they are the least involved in it. Gen Z it doesn't even make the list. I'm not going to say they don't, but Gen Z doesn't even make the list. It is so with millennials, it's plus 20%. With Gen X, it's plus 24%. And with boomers and older, it's 58%.
Dang. So you're saying they've been around longer to get twisted further?
I am reporting the data right now.
I can't even imagine why that's true. It boggles my mind.
Well, as I said, I'm reporting the data, and the hub is the largest repository of data to be collected out there. So if they're saying it, I'm not going to argue with it. But I find it fascinating that this stuff is so popular in the political space right now, and the boomers own the political space right now. So that part, I suppose, in retrospect, shouldn't be too surprising. There is an unfortunate connection that I absolutely cannot say on YouTube about because of the younger generation and their embracing of it. But I'm wondering if the younger generation they don't care as much about it one way or the other, like they accept it. I'm wondering if that's what's driving their lack of interest in it. There's a whole series of sociological studies you could do on this if somebody's interested. Like there's questions that you could ask. So why isn't Gen Y, if they're so supportive of it, why aren't they participating in it in this porn data? Why are the boomers so interested in pushing it on young people? Oh, there's a question that'll break your brain.
Well, but there are other themes in porn that have grown in popularity as well, haven't there? Or let's say over the last 10 years. It's all categorized, and the popularity of certain categories has grown, and maybe the production of those has grown to program people. And isn't there a term in hypnotism or NLP called anchoring? Can't you?
Anchoring is just a common psychological effect.
Yeah, when someone sees something and they get a neurochemical reaction to it, doesn't it kind of anchor them or start? Well, it's rewiring their brain, but now it's focused around this thing that really wasn't even a main desire of them before they were frequently exposed to it. Does this make any sense?
I kind of see where. Well, that's like a different way of stating what I was saying before, is that Gen Z is so accepting of it that, well, they're so accepting of it that it's normal to them.
So
right?
desensitized. They're desensitized.
Yeah, and so they don't feel
degenerates.
They don't feel that same sort of need to go seek out the strange and the unusual. It's not novel, to use a word from your.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Right. It's not novel to the younger generations, and I'm wondering if that's what's going on here.
That's a good explanation.
So that is just. Go ahead.
The whole thing is seeking out the taboo, which you can't have an experience, so you have to live it out in your mind, in your fantasy, which is maybe a lot about what drives porn. But then, what you're focusing on is also driven by what you watch. And so it's not a
Well, and
simple thing, is it?
no, there's
A lack of
absolutely no
it's,
a
so it's
lack of what?
it shows that's a complete, it shows on a spiritual side. It just shows people completely lost and abandoned, completely covetous, in rebellion, and a lack of contentment in their lives.
Yeah.
So I just thought of this. There are consultants, or I don't know, handlers or managers, whatever they call them, for certain OnlyFans OF women that
Mm-hmm.
they give a portion of their earnings to, and he crafts, well, he or she, I assume it's a man. We'll just assume it's a man. He crafts okay, this is what you're going to do. This is the demographic you're going at. This is your persona, all that. So I'm guessing there's a science behind the peddling of porn, the marketing of porn, how to gain audience, how to increase certain things, get popular. The things we're talking here today, aren't we kind of just dipping our toes into? Yeah, there's a lot to this, and there's probably experts out there who've turned this into a science.
Hmm. I
Yep.
I would have to assume so. And I hate to say this, guys, particularly out here in the content creator space, but a lot of those tactics that work for porn are going to be the same ones that your favorite creators using on you right now. I I do not know enough to name them and shame them. I agree that they're out there. I don't know what they're called.
Oh no. Hey, we are going over the boundary here. We're going from countercultural sexuality into narratives. Maybe
Okay,
this
yeah,
should have
no,
been on
okay,
the
yeah, we
road.
want we want
Yeah, we don't
well,
need to
it's
do that, guys.
all I'm saying is I have no idea. Like it that Steve, it never even occurred to me that yes, there might be a science out there that you could do that. I was just saying, well, the tactics are going to be very similar to what your content creators or your non-porn content creators are doing. Because most non-porn content creators are trying to get out here and hook you on their content so you keep coming back for more. We talked about this in our in number 4, where we talked about the four horsemen of the narrative apocalypse. So yeah, the tactics are going to have to be the same or similar at least. Nice callback there, Steve. I like it.
So I think we should move on. I
Yes.
don't think we adequately addressed the number one question.
Okay.
Can you read that?
Question number 1 was do you think it's possible for a woman to be doing all those things that Elena listed in her video at the beginning, and a man still just have a desire to watch porn? That was the first question.
Okay, I want to answer that one.
Okay.
Yes, but as we've pointed out today here, porn usage is complicated. And if he's using porn, yeah, there's probably things you're doing too that he's not being honest with you. You're not being honest with him. Now, theoretically, it's possible you could be doing everything. But now, first of all, in our thinking here, the man is responsible to God first and foremost, and you're responsible to him. So confronting him is not a good idea. And we'll talk about that in the fourth question that I came up with. So let me ask you, and I'm going to go back to the things that I recommend for women to keep in mind with a man. RSVP. Do you respect him? Are you showing him respect? SV is sexual variety. don't be one of those prudish women who, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm too good for that. Now, you have to use discretion. I'm not saying anything goes, but, different positions, be open to that. Do the lights have to be out?
Just be
Having
engaged.
some fun time at noon. Just, how many rules do you have? Oh, yes, I give him sex. What, according to your rules or according to the way he wants it? Okay, so look at your stuff there, because he might be looking for that. What's missing elsewhere, even though you say you're providing? Are you providing what he wants? And the fourth one, the P, is peace. Are you nagging him? Because, it's better to live in the corner of a rooftop than with a contentious woman. And a man can easily lose desire for a contentious woman. And it's easier for him to go get his rocks off elsewhere. That's my answer. Now, I'm talking generalities. I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general, these are the things to think about, and every woman should. Now, theoretically, it's possible you could be doing all these things and he's still using porn. Okay, but then it's still not your problem, and it's not something you can solve. You can be supportive, and we'll get to that in question 4. But I'm not saying there's a foolproof solution here.
Well, and so speaking to this from my experience with my prior marriage, honestly, there's a lot to be said for just showing up and engaging. A dead bedroom doesn't necessarily mean that you're not having sex at all. But if you're just sort of laying there and you're not engaging with it, trust me, ladies, we know that you're not actually interested and that you're just, quote unquote, throwing us a bone, right? We know that. We'll take it because it's offered to us. But if that's what you're doing, my contention is, and if that's what you're doing and your guy is also watching porn, my contention is you might want to look at that. We married you. We got into a relationship with you because we're looking for a human. We're looking for a person. If I needed something to just lay there, well, there are far cheaper ways to achieve that. Right. So, and the nagging, ladies, I cannot tell you how much the nagging can kill the bedroom. If you want me to just be absolutely uninterested in you, then you just don't. It's hard to even describe how much of a libido killer nagging is. Nothing in the world you could do is going to kill it faster than nagging.
Yeah, he comes home riding high, walks in the door, and you start nagging. Ooh, man, things get pretty limp pretty fast.
Here we go. Guys, like, here we go again. Oh, shit. Deal with this. Why the hell did I come?
Well, hey, ladies.
A lot of men stay at work for much longer than they otherwise would have to.
Oh, you think he's at work cheating? No, not necessarily. He just doesn't want to come home to you.
Imagine that.
Honestly, when I was working, I won't say the name, but I was working at a Fortune 500. They had lots of women there. They had lots of pretty women there. The guys who were staying late, they weren't engaging with those women. The married guys, no, they weren't engaging with those women. You could just tell that they really didn't want to go home.
Hey, what did I say? Are SVP. The last one is peace. He comes home and he's not getting peace. He's also not getting a piece. But first of all, just stop the nagging, because it's only destruction. It's only destruction.
Yeah. So, Steve, you had your question that you want to answer.
Okay, so fourth question that she didn't ask, but okay. A wife discovers her husband's using porn. What is she going to do about it? Isn't that what it all comes down to? She didn't ask that question.
Yeah.
But
well, I would argue it's implied with the questions, like, this happened to me. What do I do about it?
Yeah, I think so. So, this is going to be some free counseling. Take it for everything. It's worth every cent you paid for it. First of all, keep in mind the hierarchy. In general, your husband is not accountable to you. Not in the same way you're accountable to him. Yeah, there is some mutual accountability here, but primarily he's accountable to God and not to you. So if you come in all emotional and attack him and say how you're hurt and all this, it's just going to increase the drama. It's not going to go good. It doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to him about it. What it does point out is you probably have some difficulties in communication. You have secrets and he has secrets. You have to have an intellectual discussion, and maybe don't even bring up the porn first. Ask about your relationship. And if you're doing what he wants in the marriage with regards to RSVP, is he satisfied in the bedroom? Gain some information before you come into this. And then, you're going to have to be honest with him if you expect him to be honest with you. So if you get around to the porn, and maybe you don't even have to. If things improve, maybe it'll just be solved if you address some of these other things. But by no means ever, ever, ever are you going to be his accountability partner if he puts some restrictive software on his computer. Do not go there. He's not accountable to you in that way. If that were to ever happen, he needs to find a friend or his pastor. That is his accountability partner. Do not go in a position of authority over him, because that will still destroy your marriage. So, I guess there's no guarantees here. That's my advice, because when most women find this, they get all emotional and they go into attack mode, and then they try to control everything. I think just don't do that.
Okay, Steve. This brings up an interesting question. Why do women go into an attack mode over it? And I would say it's not just because they think they've been violated, although they have. I think there is a bit of a hypocrisy and a double standard here. And it goes back to that video that I showed earlier of that couple, and she's reading his book or her book. Female porn, female behaviors around men have been broadly accepted as being publicly acceptable. So she can say, oh, well, I'm just reading a book. Yeah, you're reading a book, but you're really reading porn.
Yep. And a lot of them are increasingly watching it too. So,
And yes, and as we demonstrated, we are seeing an increase in watching the visual stuff as well. So, and Steve was very in a very nice and gentle way saying what I'm about to say, and that is, women, there is an incredible amount of hypocrisy in your own lives in the way you handle this. Because society has told you that your forms of porn are acceptable. You now think that and that the guy's forms are not. You now operate from this mode of, well, I can shame you for yours, but you can't shame me for mine. Even though I know it's shameful. Look at her reaction. She takes the book away, closes it up, and hugs it to her body to keep him from reading it again. She knew that what she was reading was shameful. She knew it was porn. But because her form of porn is acceptable, it's okay. So,
well, even like in the church, they do that. It's always shame men for this, and this. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be there to some extent, right? You should shame it, you should condemn it.
mhm,
But
mhm.
where's the other condemnation? Why is it just the men in their forms? When actually a lot of the women are doing the same forms and another form as well.
36% of them are doing the same form, which means I can guarantee you that if I'm speaking to any pastors or elders out there, I'm sorry, there is a large contingent of women in your church who are on the hub regularly. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, and here's another tendency among women. If they attack somebody for some behavior, they can't be attacked for the same behavior, because it's like, well, yeah, you do that too. Men don't typically do that. Once you accuse someone else of something, they really
Mhm.
can't accuse you. And throughout human history, there have been people who have criticized others for the behavior that's within themselves because they feel guilty about it. So if they project that guilt on others, uh, somehow it makes them feel better. I don't
So,
quite understand it, but it's a very prevalent thing throughout history, not just in the sexual area, in all areas. This
so
behavior.
in law, they actually have a term for that. There's a legal term for that. It's called confession through projection.
Hmm.
It's so common that the law has a term for it. So, yes, the thing is, women know that, and as Steve said, men tend to either not do it or not even know it, and so women know that if they make the accusation first, and you see this in breakups. Where the woman is setting herself up to get as much as she can, she's going to go accusing the man of as much as she can.
Oh,
Yes, Nick, I see you
oh
down there
shit.
laughing.
Oh shit. You brought it
So
to home
everybody
today, huh?
here who has a camera on, who's been accused of being an abusive man, who's actually been abused, raise your hand.
See, I was never abused. I was never accused of being an abuser.
You don't have your
Thank
camera
God.
on. I knew that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to state it. I was never accused
No.
of that. Thank God. I wonder if that's partly because she knew that there was a level that the church was just not going to buy because I was in that church for decades. So it's possible. I don't know. But
Well, have we covered this stream?
I think we have. This is a hard one for all of us, I think.
Well, it wasn't hard. It's just that
Difficult
men don't really
subject.
want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Well,
important.
we're like Star Trek. We boldly go where no man has gone before.
Yeah, we did. We went there.
Well, there's a one man that went there. His name was Jesus, and He went after both men and women.
And
He went after the woman at the well, and uh he went after those that thought that they were righteous and they were not. And he said, "You have heard that it is said of that by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart." And the same can be applied to women. So,
but
You know,
but Nick, he didn't say that. He didn't say it applied to women. I
You
know,
know, in
that's not
this
how the Bible
dream,
works.
we talk about things, controversial things, that really aren't touched on elsewhere. And that a lot of people are reluctant to do. But in reality, if you talk about it, most people really don't care and they might be appreciative. Oh, yeah, they might use it against you. But really, do I care what people on this world think about me? It's really, I mean, I have to stand before God. Whatever I do here, God knows all this stuff already. So
Yep.
don't, it might be uncomfortable, but I think Christian men should talk about this stuff a lot more because there's a thing where everybody thinks, well, no, I'm dealing with things that just are unique to me. And yeah, I'm just different and I don't fit in and I'm more sinful and I'm blah, blah, blah. No, you're not that unique. Sorry. We all deal with this stuff. So let's talk about it without creating scandal, but in a tasteful way.
Well, so the hub has a lot of data about viewage, and I hate to tell y'all, I'm looking for the specific numbers, but okay, this is all category stuff. There are So the United States on the hub is 3 times more than the next 19. There are a lot of people out there watching this. I guarantee you that no matter which church you're in, no matter which denomination you're in,
it's there.
probably over half of your church, I think that's a relatively easy statement to make, is watching this stuff. And that includes a large percentage of the women in your church. The average duration is an interesting one. In the United States, it's 10 minutes, which I think actually speaks to a little bit of shame. They're not sticking around a long time. They go in, do their business, they're done, they're out.
Let me point something else out. If what was it, 54% of boomers are looking at the
58.
Skittles, 58%.
Yep.
The tea stuff. That means boomers are not innocent. And you think, oh, he's a boomer, he's not doing it. He or she. I think you're wrong. They are just as influenced by the culture as everyone else. They're not immune.
Absolutely. Okay. I want to close with this because this one hits hard. This is titled Favorite Times to Watch. The most popular, and they do this in like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. The most popular time to watch, top 2, is 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday night. And it's not even close. Sunday evening into Monday morning is the most popular time to watch. Ironically, Monday 5 a.m. is the least popular time. So there's very definitely a bent towards, I'm going to come in Sunday night, I'm getting ready to go to work, but by the time we get to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., I'm done, I'm out. But it's Sunday. And I think that says something to the church.
Well, there's a bunch of sexless marriages, unhealthy marriages.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff going on. We've talked about it before. Just fat, overweight, overstimulated, people who aren't content, and a lot of the feminist bullcrap that deceives and deludes a lot of women, and they have a lot of baggage.
Yep.
Well, the churches just make this worse because if they talk about it, they just blame the men, which empowers the women to nag on the men and do the confession by projection, which only makes it worse. And none of it ever solves the problem because the church doesn't realize it's not a man problem.
It's the woman
It's a
not
sin
putting out
problem that's affecting men and women. They each have blame or culpability. They each have sin. Yeah, it's different. Sometimes it's really similar, but you got to address the whole issue, and that's not being done.
True.
Well, and there's something I want to bring up here, and this comes out of a Portuguese experiment with drug addicts. And one of the things that they discovered was shame. Oh, the shame is actually the most likely response, the most common response to being shamed for an activity is to go do more of it. So if you're sitting in the pews on Sunday morning and you're getting shamed, the most likely reaction is going to be that you're going to go do more of it. This is not a problem. Yeah, this is not a problem we can solve with shame, in my opinion. The studies on drug addicts show this. This is going to be a problem that is going to be dealt with, and I don't think you get to deal with this by shouting a sermon from the pulpit and saying, "See, there, I dealt with the problem." In fact, probably all you did was make it worse. Because as Steve said, she's going to feel empowered to go home and shame him for it. He's been shamed earlier in the day at church for it. He's been shamed. And the way that...
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, yeah, does bear responsibility. He should have some guilt for his sin.
Mhm.
But I think it's also only one half the equation is that he probably has zero to little access to what we call enthusiastic sex with his wife.
Well, that's just it. So the shame would work if his wife was enthusiastic, because he would recognize, oh, I'm looking at I'm looking at this stuff, but I have this wife who's also being enthusiastic. I really shouldn't be doing this, but hey, my wife's enthusiastic. I'll just go over it. Because one of the ways you can rewire yourself is, well, I'm going to do something else when the craving comes. That's actually a pretty common psychological technique. So, the guy can just say, oh, but my wife, she's been really into me. I should just go over there instead. And all of those hormones we talked about right at the beginning, those will get dumped into pathways related to the woman, to the wife. So you're absolutely right. Shaming isn't enough. The shaming actually assumes that the woman is doing everything that is required of her in the relationship.
I kind of pointed out that the shaming doesn't work. My answer to question 4, what should the woman do? Confront and control. That's like shaming him. It's the same
Yes.
thing. That's not going to work. And I can't help but pointing this out since I'm Catholic. Catholics have a solution to this. You guys don't. And it's not my fault, but here's what Catholics do. Okay, you get that shame, you got something going on. Yeah, they understand the sin cycle. You need to be forgiven. You need an infusion of grace. And somehow you have to be held accountable. And that doesn't mean just, oh, Jesus, I promise not to do this again. Please forgive me. Yeah, theoretically, maybe it's supposed to work. But when you actually have to go face somebody, and you show the humility. So you go to confession to a priest and say, Father, this is what I did. And I'm trying to work on not doing it again. And then, since it's not the priest giving you absolution, it's him in the person of Christ absolving your sins and giving you a penance. So now you have to do something. It may not be anything big, but it's still a penance. So that's a method. Now, when this method went away by people going, leaving the church or going to Protestantism, well, a lot of this confession type thing went to psychology and psychiatrists, and now you go see your therapist and you talk about these things. But the therapist has no authority under God to actually do that. And so they basically just try and soothe you and say, well, that's not so bad. I understand. Well, that doesn't really address the spiritual side. Now, okay, I'm just talking about the Catholic perspective. I'm not beating up on you two guys. Give your perspective on what your solution to this is.
Oh, there is no office of church counselor. So a lot of these, like even like the OPC and crap, they try to throw these like you have to go to this counselor, you need to do this. I said bull crap. We think, Presbyterians, we think we have a biblical de jure divino church government. So where the hell do you come off saying you need to go to this therapist, you need to go to this counselor? I call bull crap. You just don't want to do the job and hold people accountable as a pastor and elder. That's what they should be doing. Pastors and elders should be the one that they come to when they have a problem. You should be available. A male pastor should be available for the men to come see him. And if a woman wants to come in, well, he should have a witness there so nothing untoward happens.
Well, that's kind of what I was drawing around there, was when I was saying, look, in the churches, you're going to have to step up and do the work with these men and women. You don't get to send them off to the local counselor. You don't get to, like, does the Catholic priest send them off to the local counselor? No, he deals with it. Catholics have their form of dealing with it. Protestantism, I agree with Steve, has no form of dealing with it. They just say, well, you need to go to the counselor. Look, the counselor, I sat through marriage counseling, not for this, but the counselors all follow the same program. They are not there to actually help you or solve the problem. They're actually really there to program you to adjust to the situation.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times they're influenced with gynocentrism or gynocentrism, feminist.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But
they have the whole crazy definitions of for different things like abuse and sexual ethics. It's a whole mess, and you don't want to step in that if you don't have to.
Absolutely. This is not a problem that can be solved in the secular world. The secular world wants you to do more of this. sorry to the pastors out there if you're listening. Who knows? But
Well, I
if
hope
there's
they are listening because,
Yeah.
this is probably as good a discussion of the issue as you're ever going to find.
Yeah. And it was a couple of women who brought it to us. So I do want to thank them for that. It's been a enlightening discussion looking at the data. It's been one that I'm sure YouTube is going to absolutely hate for the amount of banned words we've dropped in here. I might just go select this one and tell YouTube
I don't know.
to treat it as an adult only video. But we'll see what YouTube has to say about it. I've been, if I stopping a lot this time, it's because I'm rolling through the Rolodex of words that I can't say.
There's been a lot of
Probably need to
words.
give me a copy of that
Content
because
is
I
not
don't know.
really scandalous.
Yeah, that's the trouble with these simple censor filters, is that none of what we said was scandalous, except in the sense that we are kind of calling out the feminist double standard here. So, but the censor isn't smart enough to figure that out. So, yeah, this was. I mean, I hope people can get something from this. And honestly, this is probably one where we're speaking more to the church, because I don't think the secular world has even a desire to try and fix this. I think the secular world wants more of it.
Probably.
So,
Makes sense to me.
well, gentlemen, any last words before we wrap it up?
No.
If thy right
It's just
hand
that we
offend thee,
can't
pluck
take-
it out. You go, Steve. Then I'll say something.
It's just that we just can't talk about any topic without making it controversial.
Well, the word says, if thy right hand offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. Basically, don't do what Origen did. You don't need to castrate yourself. That's a church father, or so-called church father, if you're Roman Catholic. But I don't really like him much either, but he has some good stuff and some really bad stuff. But yeah, you don't need to castrate yourself. You don't really need to cut, pluck out your eye or anything like that. But that means that, you need to, some part of you internally needs to die to that sin. You need to humble yourself and cut that out of your life.
All right. Well,
Good. For your own good, spiritually and physically.
okay. Well, if anyone's still watching this, please do like, subscribe, and honestly, this is one that probably needs to be shared more than anything else with other men, other couples, other women that are struggling with this stuff. So this is one that I'd love to see a long tail on if it gets shared around. And yeah, thank you all for listening in. And we will see you on Monday. We are going to be talking about the Trent Horn and what's the other guy's name? Cooper? Can't remember his first name. They did a discussion on. Go ahead.
Yeah, the red pill, and I don't know what was the topic of it.
I think they called it red pill, dead pill, or something like that.
Yeah, red pill, dead pill. Yeah.
So that'll be Monday, and then Nick, you have something for us on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're gonna do. Is Dabney the red pill patriarch, or is Dabney a red pill patriarch? So we're going to look at Robert Louis Dabney and his teachings and how they kind of comport with the red pill, and how they don't.
Okay. Very, very interesting. All right. Well, with that, we will see you all on Monday.
Take care.
Yep. But.